For a backhand drive, especially against topspin, your rhythm should be to hit the ball at the peak of its bounce. Watch the ball bounce, that's the high point you want to hit. If you hit it on its way down, the falling phase, you'll make more errors, especially against high-quality shots. Against spin, like an aggressive flick or a long ball, hitting late will cause you to hit the net. Once you develop this poor timing habit, it's very difficult to adjust. The main point is understanding how to correct this timing. To generate more speed, it's not about rushing your rhythm, it's about the quality of your contact with the ball. Many players think they need to rush the ball to hit it fast, but that's incorrect. Speed should come from waiting for the ball and generating your own power and quality through a proper stroke at the peak of the bounce. Shot quality comes from your own power generation, not from rushing to meet the opponent's ball. This is the core concept: proactive power versus reactive blocking. The goal is to control the rally by generating your own pace, not just reacting to your opponent's. This is a critical distinction and represents two completely different approaches. I see this as a mental concept. You can hit the ball fast and rush your opponent, but that speed shouldn't come from just rushing the timing. It should come from the quality of your own stroke, even if you take the ball slightly later. You must control the quality of your shot, don't just rely on borrowing your opponent's pace. You can borrow pace on some shots, but not all. You need to know the difference. It's not about just pushing the ball back from the table. If you think rushing the ball is a high-level skill, understand that slowing down your rhythm to generate proper power will actually make you a much better player. So for the backhand drive rhythm, try to consistently hit the ball at the peak of its bounce. Find this timing on every ball. If you want to generate power at the peak, add more quality to your stroke. If not, just execute a normal, controlled stroke at that timing. That is the correct rhythm, make sure you master it. Also, don't let your opponent's pace dictate your backhand rhythm. A common mistake is to try and match your opponent's power with more power. This is a low percentage play that often leads to errors. A controlled block or counterdrive is a more strategic and consistent response. For example, if your opponent hits fast, you shouldn't instinctively try to hit fast too. When your opponent hits hard, your first thought shouldn't be to hit back harder. It should be to switch to a defensive block or a controlled shot using their pace. For instance, if the fourth ball is faster, you can handle it with a solid defensive block. You must adjust your shot based on what your opponent is doing. So, why do errors happen? When your opponent adds power, it's an instinct to try and hit even harder back, as if your hand is on autopilot. The reason for the error is that the opponent's ball is too fast for your offensive stroke. Why does it go into the net? Is the ball heavy with backspin? No, it's not. It's because your opponent is generating power, and their pace jams you. Being jammed is a key concept. It means the ball's speed doesn't allow you enough time to execute your proper swing mechanics, forcing a rushed, incomplete, and weak contact. Your stroke becomes a simple touch, and the ball drops because you didn't complete your motion. You're being jammed by the pace, so your stroke is incomplete and has no forward momentum. In slow motion, it looks like this. Your swing isn't finished, there's no forward drive, and the ball goes into the net. However, if your opponent hits with a lot of speed, and you use a compact blocking motion to match their pace, the ball will go over the net. If you take a big backswing to try and match power for power against a fast ball, you'll get jammed and hit it into the net. When you get jammed, you can't create the proper arc, and the ball leaves your paddle too early. That's the cause of the error. So in a backhand-to-backhand rally, unlike a forehand, you need to be able to block and absorb a few shots. This is because the backhand stroke is more compact and executed in front of the body, making it inherently quicker and more stable for blocking fast shots compared to the larger forehand stroke. A forehand-to-forehand loop rally is much harder to sustain due to the speed. In amateur play, a 3-loop rally is already very good. For example, in a forehand rally, a winner is often decided in 3 shots. But backhand is different. In a match, after a side topspin serve, 2 players can get into a long backhand rally. Many of these shots involve blocking, pushing, or quick drives. There are more opportunities for a sustained backhand exchange. During these rallies and exchanges, you must adjust your stroke. You can't use the same shot for every ball. For instance, after I serve a side topspin ball, I can play a normal rally pace, or I can decide to add more spin, or follow a soft touch with a powerful attack. For every shot, whether you are attacking or defending against an attack, you must make an adjustment, borrow pace, generate your own power, change placement, etc. You must be proactive and adjust your rhythm. In these backhand exchanges, the test is whether you can take the initiative. Modern table tennis matches are often decided from the backhand side. This applies to both pros and amateurs. The game often starts with a serve to the backhand, followed by a pivot to the forehand. A strong backhand is essential. So in a backhand rally, you must first have the ability to handle the exchange. Then, you need to read your opponent's stroke and know when you are allowed to attack with power. If they are attacking, you must use their pace. When your opponent attacks, you borrow their pace. When you force them slightly out of position, that's your chance to generate your own power. You must adjust based on the incoming ball and your opponent. We often see players using just one stroke for everything, which is a mistake. Using a single stroke type will get you jammed by fast balls and you'll miss opportunities on slow balls. You need variety, flick, loop, block, or change placement. For example, you serve a great side topspin serve, the opponent returns a weak ball, and you just softly push it back. You've wasted a golden opportunity. This highlights a critical transition moment and a point. Recognizing that you've forced a weak return and immediately switching from a rallying mindset to an attacking one is a key skill for advancing your game. You finally get a weak, low-quality return from a good serve, but you fail to convert it into an attacking point. So when the ball goes back, your opponent takes the initiative and will likely attack your middle or forehand. Because your return was weak, you've handed them control. You essentially wasted your serve. You can't expect to win points directly from your serve unless you're playing a beginner. An experienced player will handle a standard side topspin serve. If you just touch it back, you're in trouble on the next shot. Therefore, on your third ball attack, you must be proactive. Either attack with power, flick aggressively, or change the placement. Your attack after the serve must have a clear purpose and a plan. Almost every forehand shot requires footwork. Since you serve and receive from the backhand corner, the first forehand ball of a rally must be played on the move. That's what makes it difficult. The forehand is difficult because it requires footwork. But what makes the backhand difficult? Both strokes have their challenges. The main difficulty for many players with the backhand is feeling like they can't generate power. This is because the backhand demands very precise spatial awareness and rhythm. A forehand can generate power with a large swing from behind the body, but a backhand swing is much more compact. This shorter distance requires much more explosive power. This ties the entire lesson together. Because the backhand stroke is so compact, there's no time for a long wind-up. Power must come from perfect timing and explosive use of the wrist, forearm, and core, which is why mastering the rhythm at the peak of the bounce is so fundamental.